Good. Okay. Thank you for this opportunity. My question to you is, what do you say to people like me, to people like everyone in this room, you know, young Californian conservatives who are stuck in the liberal hellhole? What do we do? Because I was listening to your show the other day, and you were saying you're from the Northeast. You know, it's pretty blue over there, but you don't want to give up where you're from. You don't want to give up where your family's at, where you grew up, your childhood home. I mean, I was born here. My parents were born here. I mean, California is where I'm from. I want to dig my heels in and fight. I don't want to give it up. I don't want to give up Silicon Valley. I don't want to give up the agricultural center of America. California is America. There's so much that happens here. I don't want us to cede this to them. I don't want to give this up. This is my land. This is where I'm from. I want to fight for it. What do you say to me besides move away, run away, give it up? It's hopeless.
I'd say if that's what you feel called to do, then I think it's incredibly noble and brave, and you should do exactly that. Now, as someone who doesn't live in California, I'm not from here, I confess that sometimes I do have the attitude of, you know, if you guys want to go do your own thing, that's fine. It won't upset me. But then again, as you pointed out, I was talking about this, I think, because the conversation about the national divorce concept came up, and there are a lot of people that would say that about the Northeast, like, let those people in New York and Philly and DC, we don't need them. Well, that's where I'm from. That's where my family is from. And I don't want to just give that to, you know, if there was some sort of divorce, I'd give that to the left. My home, I'm going to give that to them. No, I don't agree to that. So I can understand having that same view, which means, well, what do you do then? It means that if you want to stay here and fight, then you do. But you also have to realize, first of all, it is a generational struggle. That's what I'm always trying to emphasize to people. This is not something, the ultimate, you know, the culture war is not something that's going to be won, you know, according to a 5-year plan. It was how long did it take to get us to this point? You have to ask yourself that. And it took decades, it took generations, which means it takes generations to dig out. And if you're okay signing up for that, then you should. And the first thing to do is something really simple, which is just to live according to the truth, you know, to live in the truth and not be willing to forfeit or compromise on that. And if you could just do that even in your daily life, when these seemingly little moments come up, when you can either compromise and go along with the lie or put your foot down and say no, if you can make the right choices in those moments, and everyone else can, then I think you're on the way.
Longtime fan. Seriously, God bless you for the work you do. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Anyways, you know, for the question, you know, I very much kind of like the, how do I put this, kind of the worldview you push about putting the truth above everything. I very much agree with that and have tried to practice that in my own life. You know, my question is, you know, sometimes when discussing these issues with people, you know, especially a loved one or a close friend, what have you, I'll often notice people get really angry in the discussion when I mention, say, for example, Dylan Mulvaney, you know, the man that the Biden administration has popped up, simply for calling him a man or a dude. Anger. Oh, how could you say that? This is wrong. And I'll pretty much say, hey, well, that's the truth, and I stand on it no matter what. And then I get this kind of stuff about, well, your approach is wrong. You need to be more gentle about it, yada, yada, yada. And it seems that even if I make the point, in my opinion, really quite clearly, I still get this pushback of, well, the way you're doing it, you're going to alienate people. They're going to be angry, etc. I don't know. How do you recommend approaching that, I suppose, would be the question.
I don't know why you would ask me that. Everyone knows I take a very gentle approach. So in fact, I condemn the approach that you sound like you're being way too harsh. No, I'm kidding. I think, obviously people listen to the show know I've been talking about this extensively over the last couple of weeks on the Dylan Mulvaney topic, but really this stretches across the entire culture war. And I think there are a few fundamental confusions that conservatives that say this, and I think you're talking about people that are sort of on our side, right, but object that it's too harsh and you're going to alienate people. So I think they are also confused on a few different levels. One of them is that they assume that everything we say in defense of the truth must always have the first intention of changing the mind of someone who disagrees with us. That's one of the things we want to do, but that's not the only thing we should be trying to do. We also want to empower and embolden and rally the people that are on our side. The left is very good at doing this, and this is one of the reasons why they dominate the culture. They're obviously not always talking to us. In fact, they rarely are. They're talking to each other. But there's something to be said for that. You know, people say, I hear it all the time, well, you're preaching to the choir, preaching to the choir. I've always found that to be such a bizarre phrase because, well, of course you want to preach to the choir. They're in the church, aren't they? Obviously, you don't want to alienate the choir. They're the first people you need on your side. And the problem is that among conservatives, like, we don't even have our choir on our side. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is that when it comes to actually changing people's minds, I just don't think that the gentle, soft-pedaled approach proves to be the most persuasive. And I can use again, the example of the left, where that is not what they have done. They don't take a soft approach. I think that many times your tone and the manner in which you communicate your arguments can be even more persuasive than the content of the argument itself. And so what kind of tone is most persuasive? I would say oftentimes it's an authoritative tone where you sound confident about what you're saying. One strategy the left uses, and it's proven to be very effective, is that anytime you say anything they disagree with, they treat it like it's the most horrific thing they've ever heard. Even if you're saying something really normal that almost everyone in the world would agree with, to them they treat it, it's not just wrong, it's insane the way that they treat it. And that ends up being persuasive to other people in the peanut gallery that are watching it. They'll go, well, okay, if he got that reaction, I guess I'm wrong about this. But then we turn around and we tend to lend more legitimacy to their arguments, even though what they're saying actually is insane. So that's what doesn't make any sense to me. So I just think that the whole objection is wrong. Yeah. Thank you.
Hi, Matt. I'm old.
Me too.
No, yes, so I just got done right before I came here watching your What is a Woman documentary on Daily Wire Plus, which I encourage you all to sign up for. Lots of good content and pay your money. But now it was very good at addressing the institutional proponents of transgenderism. But the one area that I think you didn't address in that, probably not on purpose, is that I don't think any action would be taken to these children undergoing transitioning unless they had at least one a parent that was affirming this going along. So my question to you is, how do you think we got to the point where parents like, for example, Dwayne Wade will encourage these horrible things to be done to their child, and how do we get back out and solve that problem?
Yeah, I mean, you're right that was a hole in the film that was not intentional. I really wanted to talk to a parent of an affirming parent of a young trans child. I really wanted to have that in the film. I wanted to have a conversation with somebody like that, and we tried, and nobody wanted to talk to us, surprisingly. But what I would say about that, I think that there are two, basically, so simplifying, but I think there are basically two categories of parents when it comes to the parents of quote-unquote trans kids. And there's the one category that I have all of the sympathy in the world for, and then the other category who I think are evil beyond words. The first category are, these are parents of most of the time adolescent girls, and they feel like they've done everything right. They've raised their kids, and they've raised them in a loving home, and oftentimes a good Christian home. Kid goes out, goes to school, and picks up this social contagion, partly from the internet, partly from their peer group, and then comes home one day and is just seemingly out of the blue, has just fallen into this abyss. And parents in that situation, they don't know what to do there. And then oftentimes they'll go to they think, well, what's the first place I go? I should go talk to a counselor, a therapist. What does the therapist end up telling them? Well, if you don't affirm this, your child will kill herself, and so you have to do it or her blood will be on your hands. I mean, this is what therapists are telling parents. And then that makes them even more scared and desperate and confused. Parents in that situation, I have a lot of sympathy for it. But then you have the Dwayne Wade situation where you've got younger kids who they didn't pick this up as a social contagion. They pick it up in the home. I mean, these are parents who want their kids to be trans, really, so they can parade them around as sort of woke virtue signaling tokens, kind of as a trophy that they can show off. And I think there's a lot of that happening as well. Yeah.
And then just one follow-up for the young man who was wondering how he can still, maintain a good, positive, moral outlook and work in the Silicon Valley. The one piece of advice that I have to give to him, concrete advice, is look at preparing your career in terms of contracting rather than working as a full-time employee for companies, because it gives you some isolation from HR departments. So.
That's good advice. That's good practical advice.
Cause the flag still stands for freedom, and they can't take that away.